ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example that if you are walking down a lane and you see in some showroom, in some shop, beautiful man, beautiful woman, which is made up of plastic, and it is nicely decorated with cloth in order to attract the customers. Only fools will be attracted to that statue of man or woman. Correct. No sane man will be attracted, because sane man will understand it is nothing but just some plastic. It is a doll, nicely covered with some beautiful cloth in order to attract us. Similarly, actually we don't realize this. This material body is also something like plastic. The real form of the soul is actually most beautiful. This appears to be beautiful, but actually we realize that there is no beauty only when the soul leaves this body. Otherwise we don't realize this. We mistake this material body to be the self. Imagine there is a beautiful woman, but she is dead. Will somebody be attracted to that dead beautiful woman? Only fools will be attracted. But when that woman is alive, so many people will be attracted. She will have thousands of followers, isn't it? So, we have to understand this body looks beautiful because of the presence of the soul. When the soul is out of this body has no value. Nobody would like to store the dead body of Miss Universe even for one day in the night. That yes, I was very attracted to this Miss Universe. Now at least for few days I want to keep this Miss Universe body in my house. Nobody will be attracted. So, what we should understand is, if the soul, which is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, it looks so beautiful to us, how much more the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is complete. We are just a small part of that Supreme Lord. If the soul itself displays so much of beauty, how much more beautiful will be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of all beauties. He is the source of all beauties. What we see around, He is the source of all of them. So, that is the meaning of understanding how beautiful the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. So here, Lord Kapila is describing that Supreme Lord who is seated in the heart of living entity as Paramatma, as Super Soul. So, in the previous verses we saw that this is the form a yogi should meditate upon. Yogi is not supposed to meditate on something impersonal, but on the beautiful form of the Lord. Once anyone becomes attracted by the beauty of the Lord, he will never be attracted by beauty of this so-called material world. Because our desire to enjoy beauty, our desire to hear sound which is very pleasing, our desire to touch something which is pleasurable, they are not satisfied in this material world with material objects. We place our love, we place our emotions, we place our affection on the objects of this material world. There are two things. We place our love and our affection. One is the material things and one is the other living entities. But none of them can actually satisfy the self. That is how we find someone may be very attracted by the different kind of sense objects in this material world. Somebody wants to possess different kinds of objects for sense gratification. So it could be a nice house, beautiful house. Somebody wants to have a good bungalow, nice car, nice comforts, so many different objects. And we place our attachment to all these objects. Does the object reciprocate our feeling of love? I like this, my smartphone so much, very nice, beautiful. I like my car. I spent 50 lakh rupees purchasing this car, let us say. So we place our joy, our affection, our loving sentiments on material objects. But material object cannot reciprocate our loving sentiments. They are dead material, isn't it? So, that is one problem. Another is, we place our loving sentiments, our love, affection on other living entities. It could be our pets, dog or cat. Sometimes you find, yes, people are very attached to their pets. There are examples wherein somebody before dying has bequeathed all their property in the name of their pets because they were so attached to it. Or we may be attached to people of this world. My wife, my children, my mother, my husband, isn't it? my relatives, my friends. But none of them are capable of reciprocating our loving sentiment because of their limitations and because our desire to get satisfied by the loving sentiments of other living entity without the Supreme Lord actually never satisfies us. Our love to other living entities is in connection with the Supreme Lord. It is not independent of the Supreme Lord. When we independently try to love someone in this material world, it does not satisfy us. It is just like all the parts of the body are connected to the stomach. All the parts of the body, they have to satisfy the stomach. And the stomach has a mechanism to satisfy all the parts in return. Hand cannot feed the legs, give energy to the legs. It is not possible. Hand can feed the legs through the stomach. Hand can supply the food to the stomach, and stomach will supply energy to the legs. Similarly, we are all parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, part and parcel. It is just like if I have affection for my brother, there is a reason. Because we have a common father. Correct? It is so many other people are roaming around, we don't have affection for them. Something happens to my brother, I am concerned, I am worried. Because we have a common father. Similarly, all the living entities are connected to each other because all have common origin as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And actually, imagine if we in reality understand our real origin, Govindam Adi Purusham, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda. He is the beginning of everything. He is the origin of everything. Even Vedanta Sutra says, who knows that verse from Vedanta Sutra? Supreme Lord is the origin of everything. It is also the Janmadhyasya Yataha, from whom everything emanates. So he is the origin of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddhabhava samanvitaha. When a wise person understands that Krishna is the origin of everything, he worships him with loving sentiments. Actually, we find this natural to be attached to our origin, isn't it? Just like we are attached to our motherland. Why? That is the origin. We are attached to our parents, they are our origin. We are attached to our mother tongue, origin. Correct? So, if we understand that actually the origin of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how much more times we can be attached to that Supreme Lord. Somebody is my origin for one life, next life I do not know. Last life, who was my mother, father? No idea. Next life, who will be my mother, father? Which will be my homeland? Which will be my native place? No idea. Correct? So, this is what we have to understand. So here Lord Kapila is saying that when a devotee yogi becomes attracted by the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he is no more attracted, no more satisfied with any kind of beauty of this material world. So this is the test for a devotee, whether we are advancing in devotional service. If we are advancing in devotional service and at the same time we find that our mind is still attracted to so many material beauties in this world, that means actually we have not yet become attracted by the beauty of the Supreme Lord. So, in our beginning stage, when we cannot see the beautiful form of the Lord, the Supreme Lord being very merciful, He appears before us as in His Archa Vigraha form. So, it is stated that the devotees who are doing the service for the deities in the temple, Archa Vigraha, they should see to it that the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Archa form should be so beautifully decorated that even a mundane person, when he comes to the temple, he should become attracted by the form of the Lord and he should forget material beauty. This impression, when even ordinary man will carry, over a period of time, he will build up sufficient devotional piety by which he will become attracted towards devotional service. Another important feature in our conditioned life is we should be Shravanadas. It is called as Shravana Dasha. That is very, very important stage in devotee's life, where a devotee, he is attracted to hearing the descriptions of the Lord, the holy name of the Lord, pastimes of the Lord, glories of the Lord. And anything which is connected with the Supreme Lord, it is not different from Him. So when we hear the pastimes of the Lord, when we hear the glories of the Supreme Lord, it being completely spiritual, it can completely purify any object which comes in touch with it. It is just like electric wire. It will electrify any object which comes in touch with it. So similarly, if we give proper oral reception, then immediately we can become spiritualized, our hearts will become cleared of all kinds of anarthas, and we will be able to appreciate the holy name, form, pastime, everything we will be able to appreciate. In our conditioned life, it is said, we cannot appreciate. Who will tell that verse? With these mundane senses, we cannot appreciate. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyaihi. Beginning with name, form, pastime. With these senses, we cannot appreciate. Why? Because these senses have become, our real senses have become covered. I cover your tongue with one cloth and I tell you, now taste rasgulla. Will you be able to taste it? When your tongue is covered by disease called jaundice, you will not get the taste of sugar candy. You will say it is very bitter. Isn't it? It's very important. And this we can appreciate, as Krishna says, as Lord Kapila says in Bhagavatam, Satam prasangat mama virya samvido. Never underestimate the association of devotees. Maya is so strong that actually our whole conviction that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it can be easily shaken up if we underestimate and we think that, oh, there is no issue, I am very strong in Krishna consciousness. No. People's desire to enjoy a material world is so intense, that our desire to worship the Supreme Lord and practice devotional service can be easily overflooded if we take association of worldly people attached to women and money. Never underestimate. So, we are very fortunate that we are in the association of devotees. Otherwise, we hear so many examples. Sometimes devotees who leave the association of devotees and they are unable to move even their tongue to chant the holy name of the Lord. Unable to even chant their prescribed number of rounds. They struggle. And the reason is, they are in the midst of those people, asat. So when you are in the midst of sat sangha, then automatically shraddha will be intensified. If you are in the midst of asat sangha, your shraddha is broken. They are like the wild animals who will eat away the creeper of your bhakti lata. So, it is very, very important to understand the importance of association of devotees. So, Prabhupada is explaining that the beauty of the Lord, it is superlative. There are three types of comparison. Just like we say good, better, best, great, very great, greatest. Or just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, confidential, more confidential, most confidential. Correct. We find this. So, here it is said, Darshaniya tamam. Darshaniya means very beautiful, charming to look at. Darshaniya tara means more charming. Charming, more charming. Darshaniyatamam means most charming to look at. No comparison. Kandarpa koti kamaniya vishesha shobham. Even if koti means crores, millions of Cupid, we are attracted to one small percentage of Cupid's beauty. If Cupid had to show his full beauty, we will fall flat. We are just attracted to one small percentage of Cupid's beauty in this material world. Imagine what is Krishna's beauty. It is said that even if millions of Cupid were to assemble together, they will be ashamed by seeing the beauty of Krishna. That is the kind of beauty of Krishna. And that is how we find that the gopis of Vrindavan, the Vrajavasis, they were not attached to so many things. They had their families, they had their children, they had their homes, they had their husband, they had their parents. But actually, they were all completely overwhelmed by the attraction to Krishna. So, this is what Krishna consciousness means. That actually this most beautiful personality who is complete in all six opulences, he, not only the devotee becomes attached to him, in loving relationships, the devotees can associate with that personality of Godhead. Here we are seeing yogis meditating and just seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, but devotional service is so great that this Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is complete in six opulences, not only beauty, all opulences, complete in that, he becomes subordinate to the devotees in loving relationships. And that is the beauty of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he wanted to spread this Krishna prema. As it is said that for a long time the Supreme Lord did not distribute this Krishna prema, this Vraja Bhakti. One of the most important reason, it is stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, is that after enjoying his pastimes in Vraja, after flooding the Vrajavasis in Prema Rasa, Krishna thought that apart from Vrajavasis, people are so unfortunate that they may worship me with adorations and honors and respect with Vidhi Bhakti, but actually they have no idea of Vraj Bhakti, loving sentiments in these four kinds of relationship. And Krishna is thinking that actually without that the world is void. This does not attract me so much. People, Krishna says that actually one may obtain even with this kind of Shantarasa, one may obtain even place in Vaikuntha by getting moksha from this world. But hardly they will be able to get the real prema rasa. So Krishna thought that I should give this, and that is why he came in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, himself to taste that bhakti rasa, because he is Supreme Lord. He is enjoying the rasa, but he also wants to taste what devotees are feeling. When they love Krishna, what is their feeling? One feeling is Krishna, he is he is enjoying that rasa which Srimati Radharani when she is serving. But what is her feeling when she is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead? That also Krishna wanted to taste. And that is what forced him to come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the sentiment, loving sentiment of Srimati Radharani. So, this is the excellence, par excellence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whether it is His beauty, whether it is His kathas, whether it is His holy name, everything is transcendently beautiful. Unfortunately, we with our diseased condition of existence are not able to appreciate and are thus attracted to so-called material beauties and material, so many different things we are attracted. But somehow or other, even if we follow Vidhi Bhakti, gradually when our anarthas are eliminated, we will redevelop our natural attraction for Krishna. Anybody remembers that verse? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quotes that. That our attraction to Krishna is spontaneous, it is not artificial. Sadhya kabunaye, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Udaye. Krishna Bhakti Nitya Siddha. It is eternally there. Every living entity is related to the Supreme Lord in loving devotional service. It is not to be imported from outside, sadhya kabunai. But method at present condition is because it is covered. So you have to follow a process which will uncover it. That is called as Vidhi Bhakti. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte. When our covering will be removed from the heart, when our heart will become purified, Karaye Uday, automatically our attraction to the Supreme Lord, our attraction to loving devotional service will rise in our heart. So we'll stop with this Granthra, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.